All right, guys, welcome. I've got one that's a little bit more brief tonight. To start things off, we have that pretty high stakes here. Trump warns Venezuelan jets will be shot down as warplanes buzz U.S. warship again after Don. I love the way they call him Don, the son. Yeah, he's Don. He's not President Trump or even Trump. Just know he's Don. After Don unleashed war on drugs. So the thing that kicked this off, if you haven't heard, is the speedboat that got nuked, and people have been saying, should that have been authorized? And it's all just kind of stupid, really. It's like, yeah, they're bringing drugs into the country. They got destroyed. It's pretty straightforward. It really shouldn't be a question. It's just kind of political silliness. So Donald Trump has threatened to shoot down Venezuelan jets flying over U.S. warships if they put us in a dangerous position. The chilling escalation came after Nicolás Maduro's F-16s swooped over an American destroyer for a second time as Trump warned the regime was in trouble. Will this trigger actual war? Unknown. I mean, what would happen is Venezuela would fall fairly quickly, and then it would possibly deteriorate into really nasty guerrilla warfare fighting, kind of, the kind of stuff where you never really catch the people you're going after. They just disappear into the hills and things like that. So here we go. The war on drugs. Tensions are rising between the U.S. and Venezuela. So 8 U.S. warships are in the Caribbean. The U.S. has sent 10 F-35s to Puerto Rico. F-35s suck, by the way. And there are soldiers, aircrafts, tanks, warships, nukes located there. Obviously, the USA massively outnumbers Venezuela in soldiers and everything else. So the last important thing is when asked how close the jets got to the vessel, Trump said he didn't want to reveal those details and said, if they do put us in a dangerous position, they'll be shot down. Trump was also asked what he would do if Maduro flew his jets over his destroyers again, to which he replied, I would say they're going to be in trouble. The latest swoop over USS Jason Dunham was slammed by U.S. officials who branded the teetering conflict a game of chicken. He added, if they fly in a dangerous position, I would say that your captains can make the decision as to what they want to do. So I'm going to do something a little bit different for the second one here. This is kind of old news now, but it's just a very interesting story, and it even a little bit unbelievable. But yeah, I also question why this is released now, because while I don't see Trump buddying up to Kim Jong-un again, with this sort of story becoming public, it just closes the door on the possibility, in my opinion. So here we go. Top secret SEAL team mission in North Korea ended with massacre of civilians and zero intel gained. On Friday, the New York Times revealed what may go down in history as the single most ignominious, I always have trouble with that word, ignominious fiasco of U.S. special operations in years or possibly even decades. A positively wild story which is going to cast a further spotlight on Trump and current and former intelligence officials and elite military commanders. The other reason I'm doing this is I think it's actually really interesting, and it's also completely under the radar, and like, you won't see it. Nobody's doing it really. So it's something a little bit different. In early 2019, at a moment President Trump, during his first term, publicly engaged in high-profile diplomacy with Kim Jong-un, which included chummy summits at the DMZ border and the exchange of letters. A highly secretive operation by the U.S. Navy SEALs Team 6 ended with a group of North Korean civilian fishermen massacred under mysterious circumstances. Trump, as commander-in-chief, had ordered a high-risk mission utilizing low-tech methods to avoid detection to insert the SEAL team on the North Korean coast, where they would install a surveillance device capable of intercepting Kim Jong-un's most sensitive communications. It would be hidden from Congress and the public and even government officials based on need-to-know access. It's one of those past covert ops which is never intended to see the light of public knowledge. The Times report describes the mission's purpose as likely to give the White House a huge leg up as Trump tried to engage Kim on the nuclear front back then, not now. Now it's like, I doubt Kim Jong-un's going to want to talk to him. To achieve hoped for historic denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. The objective was to plant an electronic device that would let the United States intercept the communications of North Korea's reclusive leader Kim Jong-un amid high-level nuclear talks with President Trump, it says. But the report notes that hidden surveillance objective may have had a broader purpose. The mission had the potential to provide the United States with a stream of valuable intelligence. But it meant putting American commandos on North Korean soil, a move that, if detected, not only could sink negotiations, but also could lead to a hostage crisis or an escalating conflict with a nuclear-armed foe. Essentially, this would be a small-scale invasion and breach of one of the most militarized and paranoid countries in the region and on Earth. It should be noted that it is covert operations like these which give autocrats like Kim Jong-un, or previously Saddam, Gaddafi, Assad, as well as the Iranians, valid reasons to be paranoid concerning Western spies and elite operatives. The report details that under the cover of night, the SEAL team landed on a North Korean shoreline after they swam through freezing waters with untraceable equipment, operating completely blind and with no typical drone, spy plane, or overhead surveillance or real-time mapping. Even their weapons and bullets were selected so as to be untraceable. Apparently, there was precedent for this, something also long kept secret. In 2005, SEALs used a mini-sub to go ashore in North Korea and leave unnoticed. According to people familiar with the mission, the 2005 operation carried out during the presidency of George W. Bush has never been reported publicly. Every aspect to the 2019 infiltration was ultra high risk, the New York Times continues. So now we're on 2019, not the older one. The plan called for the Navy to sneak a nuclear-powered submarine nearly 2 football fields long into the waters off North Korea and then deploy a small team of SEALs in 2 mini-subs, each about the size of a killer whale, that would motor silently to the shore. The mini-subs were wet subs, which meant the SEALs would ride immersed in 40-degree ocean water for about 2 hours to reach the shore, using scuba gear and heated suits to survive. 8 SEALs would swim to the target and plant the device, but the mission began to dramatically unravel from nearly the moment they surfaced in the dark of night. Given the lack of real-time intelligence and communications blackout, intelligence analysts had studied and monitored the intended landing spot for months prior via satellite to ensure no North Korean soldiers or bystanders would detect the operation. But it turns out there was a fishing boat very near the target zone. Every few yards, the SEALs peeked above the black water to scan their surroundings. Everything seemed clear. That might have been a second mistake. Bobbling in the darkness was a small boat. On board was a crew of North Koreans who were easy to miss because the sensors on the SEALs' night vision goggles were designed in part to detect heat, and the wetsuits the Koreans wore were chilled by the cold seawater. So it kind of makes this part confusing. It's like, why were the Koreans wearing wetsuits? Because you're like, the SEALs are in the water, right? it says later that the Koreans were diving for shells, and so they were wearing their own wetsuits, which concealed their body heat while they dived for shells. The SEALs reached shore thinking they were alone and started to remove their diving gear. The target was only a few hundred yards away. By that moment, one group of SEALs had made it to the shore, while another had stayed with the underwater small subs. Thinking that the fishing boat had likely detected the subs, which may have been exposed due to wake movement or bubbles at the surface and possibly underwater lights, a SEAL commander at the shore opened fire on the boat. As the shore team watched the North Korean in the water, the senior enlisted SEAL at the shore chose a course of action. New York Times details, he wordlessly centered his rifle and fired. The other SEALs instinctively did the same. Upon inspection of the shot-up boat, all the crew were dead. They had just been unarmed civilians diving for shellfish, hence why they were wearing wetsuits that the SEALs' night vision, heat vision didn't pick up. But to conceal their presence, the SEALs punctured the lungs of the corpses so the bodies would sink to the bottom of the ocean floor. From that point, the SEALs swam back to the mini subs and sent a distress signal. The report adds, believing the SEALs were in imminent danger, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They quickly got out of there. And so the whole episode suggests there may be many more such secret failures involving special forces in recent history. Special operations tend to only be made public and celebrated when they are a success. However, such missions which end in futility and innocent civilians dying get covered up. Often the mission overseas getting promoted. Pyongyang is certainly paying close attention to the Friday Times report. All right, so there we go. Just kind of a fun story to end this one. So if you like this sort of thing, please like, subscribe, and share. And thanks everybody. Base Gardening out.